G'day, my name's Allan Kelly. I'm Executive Chairman of Miramar Resources Limited, and today we're going to go through a presentation that we released to the ASX a couple of days ago, and we're going to talk about work that we've got planned for our Gidji JV gold project in the eastern goldfields of WA. As I said, this presentation was released to the ASX, so please do your own research. Miramar is a WA-based mineral resources company. We've got gold projects in the eastern goldfields of WA and a number of projects up in the Gascoyne region. Our flagship project is the Gidji JV project, which is located 15 kilometres north of Kalgoorlie. And we've also got a number of projects in the Gascoyne for gold and critical minerals. We've just completed a $1.2 million capital raising, and the funds from that will be used primarily to drill a couple of our high priority targets at Gidji. We're also exploring for Norilsk-style copper-nickel PGE deposits in the Gascoyne, and that's the first of those sort of deposits in Western Australia. As I said, we've just done a capital raising to existing and new investors, and we've raised about $1.2 million before costs. The placement was done in two tranches, so the first tranche will raise about $750,000, and then there'll be a second tranche subject to shareholder approval in which the top shareholders and directors, including myself, will participate. As I said, most of those funds will be directed towards drilling programs at the Gidji JV. We've just taken the opportunity as well to refresh our board, which is the first time since we listed back in 2020, and we've invited John O'Fisher to come on to the board to provide a different sort of expertise to the board. So this is a summary of our projects throughout Western Australia. As I said, the main project that we've been focusing on is our Gidji JV project, about 15 kilometres north of Kalgoorlie. We think there's potential for discovery of a new gold camp with multiple deposits. The other project is our Bangamore project up in the Gascoyne, where we're looking for nickel copper PGE deposits, the same style as the giant Norilsk deposits in Siberia. And we just recently had a breakthrough there where we proved the concept and looking forward to progressing that further. We've got a number of other projects, mostly in the Gascoyne. Our Whale Shark project, where we're looking for copper gold. Our Chain Pool project, where we've got a high-grade copper, lead, zinc occurrence. And also our Carnarvon Sands project, where we think there's potential for a placer heavy mineral sands and rare earth deposit there. To rationalise our portfolio, we recently announced that we've signed an option to sell our Randalls project east of Kalgoorlie, and we've also instigated a sale process for our Glandal project. So on to Gidji. This is our flagship project and has been since we listed. We think there's potential here to uncover a new gold camp with multiple deposits. It's in a great location, and we think we're in the right place at the right time for various reasons. You can see the image here how close we are to Kalgoorlie. We're 15 kilometres north of Kalgoorlie on the highway, and we're surrounded by multiple major deposits and processing plants, including the Kalgoorlie Super Pit, Paddington to the north of us, and Kanowna Belle to the east of us. So, if we make a discovery here, the record gold price and the location of where we are means that even a modest discovery would be relatively easy to monetize. So we think we're in a great spot there if we do find something at Gidji. We like to call this the cheapest house in the best street. It's in a fantastic location within a major regional mineralised structure, the Barara Shear Zone, which hosts a number of other deposits, including Paddington and Barara. It's underexplored due to a mixture of transporter cover and a paleo channel which cuts across the project. And when we got hold of the project in 2020, there was minimal drilling that actually penetrated that transported material. So we were the first people really to explore that. Since 2020, we've made 4 new discoveries under the Gidji Paleo Channel: Blackfriars, Highway, Marylebone and Railway. And I'll talk a bit more about them in a minute. And there's a whole heap of other targets that we've identified but have done not much work on at the moment. Probably the only other one of any note is the 8 Mile target, which sits right down at the southern end, a long strike from Northern Star's 300,000 ounce 8 Mile Dam deposit. So, as I said, we've made multiple new discoveries under the Gidji Paleo Channel since we started exploring here in 2020. That left-hand picture shows you the historic drilling when we got hold of the project back in 2020. And, there's very sparse and very shallow drilling. But having said that, there were 2 holes that looked pretty interesting. There was a 1 gram hit over to the right, which started off the discovery at Marylebone, and one further over to the west at Railway. So you can see the comparison now as of 2025. A whole heap of air core drilling is about 1,200 holes now, and a lot of those holes with the red and pink colours are all +1 2 gram hits. We believe all that shallow gold that we've discovered has come from 1 or more bedrock sources nearby. So that's now the aim of the company, is to properly test those 2 high priority targets there at Blackfriars and Highway, and to see what might be under those. So the Blackfriars target is a really interesting one. We think that it looks a lot like the Paddington and Zoroastrian deposits along strike to the north. So you can see the map on the left there, that's the Barara Shear Zone and the Bardock Tectonic Zone. And you can see the Blackfriars target, and then Paddington about 15 kilometres north, and then Zoroastrian about 15 kilometres north of that. So Zoroastrian's about a 500,000 ounce deposit that's now owned by Genesis, and the Paddington deposit, discovered back in 1982, has produced about 4 million ounces. And the key similarity between those 2 deposits is that they're hosted in dolerites at the contact between the Black Flag beds and the Barara Shear Zone. So when you come down to Blackfriars, you see that same geology, same scale and same structural setting as those 2 known deposits to the north. And at this stage, we've got a kilometre-long air core anomaly with multiple 1 gram hits, and we've got numbers actually up to about 11 grams. But we haven't done a single bedrock drill hole into that target yet. So, we're hoping that we could find, something the size of a Zoroastrian or better, and if we're really lucky, a new Paddington. The other key target is the Highway target. You can see the map in the middle there. It sits right next to the Goldfields Highway. Again, it's a 1 kilometre long air core anomaly with lots of +1 gram results. It's also got a pretty strong geophysical signature. We did a SAM survey there in the middle of this year, and we came up with a really large conductor right underneath those 1 gram hits. And gravity data shows a big gravity low. So the combination of the SAM survey and gravity data, and also multi-element geochemistry, leads to believe that there could be a big intrusion, a felsic intrusion, sitting within the Black Flag beds, and that's a great place to find a deposit. And like Blackfriars, we haven't done a single deep RC hole into this target yet. So we're looking forward to testing that with the funds that we raised in the capital raising. So, as I said, minimal bedrock drilling gives us huge opportunity. The average depth of drilling to date at Gidji is less than 60 metres. So, in a lot of cases, that's just vertical air core holes gone down to refusal in weathered basement. So Blackfriars and Highway, as I said, haven't had a single deep hole. If you look at that middle map, it shows all the drilling greater than 100 metres deep. There's a little bit up in that Marylebone target, but none at Blackfriars or Highway at all. So we've got a bedrock drilling program lined up with the funds from the capital raising. We're going to do a 10 to 12 hole program initially, about 2,500 to 3,000 metres of RC drilling, and we'll be systematically testing those Blackfriars and Highway targets and see if we can find some bedrock mineralisation beneath those. Obviously, access is fantastic right next to the road, and being so close to Kalgoorlie, it means we can generally get a drilling rig when we want to. So I said we've got a few other discovery opportunities as well, gold and critical minerals. The main, secondary target is the Bangamore project. As I said, we're looking for giant copper nickel PGE deposits. And why we're doing that is the Norilsk-Talnak deposits in Siberia are some of the biggest and most valuable mineral deposits in the world of any type. They form from emplacement of mafic magma into a sedimentary basin, and we've got that same geology up in the Bangamore region. So the GSWA, Geoscience Australia and CSIRO all said that there should be potential for Norilsk-style deposits in the Gascoyne, but we were the first people to actually go and specifically target that type of mineralisation. We've recently proved the model, the deposit model at Mount Vernon, and now we've expanded our land position. We were the first people up in this area, but not long after we got into the area, other people like Dreadnought, Tech and Chalice started pegging ground. And you can see the position that Tech and Chalice have got right next to us, and they're both looking for the same style of mineralisation now. We just recently completed an EIS-funded VTEM survey over the new area we picked up, and we've identified a number of high-priority targets from that survey. For scale, you can see the Norilsk camp at the same scale. So, a number of those anomalies shown are the same sort of size as the deposits at Norilsk. And notably, the Oktyabrysky deposit is worth about $500 billion just by itself. So we've got some large targets, and the next step is to get out on the ground, do some rock chip sampling, some ground EM, and then define drill targets for testing, hopefully in 2026. A couple of other projects we've got. As I said, we've got the Glandor project, which is east of Kalgoorlie. We've got a number of high-grade hits there on the edge of a granite. The geology is very similar to Black Cat's Majestic and Imperial deposits. We've actually got a sale process ongoing for that at the moment, and given the increased interest in gold exploration, we hope we might be able to monetise that project. We've got three other projects up in the Gascoyne, the Whale Shark project, where we think we've got potential for a large iron oxide copper gold deposit. The Chain Pool project, where there's a high-grade copper, lead, zinc, silver mineralisation, and there's potential for a SEDEX deposit, something like you see in around Mount Isa. And then the Carnarvon Sands project, where we've got a coastal embayment that we've pegged just north of Carnarvon, where there's a whole series of heavy mineral strand lines, and a limited amount of work that's been done there previously has actually found rare earth minerals, which is not surprising given that the Gascoyne River drains some pretty large rare earth deposits like Yangibana and Yin. So in terms of upcoming work programs, the key focus is getting back on the ground at Gidji, drill testing those Highway and Blackfriars targets, and then hopefully getting results not long after that. In the middle of the year, once it cools down up in the Gascoyne, we'll get out on the ground at Bangamore and go and follow up those VTEM anomalies and hopefully define drill targets out of that. We also want to do an initial shallow auger program at Chain Pool to see what's going on up there, and also hopefully do some targeting at Whale Shark as well. So in summary, we've got a great project at Gidji where we think there's potential for a new gold camp with multiple deposits in a prime location surrounded by infrastructure. Our team has got a track record of exploration, discovery, development and production, which is pretty unusual for a small company. We're a first mover in the Bangamore looking for Norilsk-style mineralisation, which is quite unique for WA. And we've got a number of other projects, across gold, base metals and critical minerals, which any one of those we could make a discovery. We're well positioned for news flow coming up, having done the fundraising, and should be able to put out a lot of news results through 2026. So that's a quick update. As always, if you're interested in the company, please reach out to us via our website or give us a call. and I look forward to keeping you up to date on our programs throughout 2026.